Hello, I'm Chris Scargill and welcome to Series 4 of Tourism Business Chat. I'll be chatting again to prominent leaders in the sector about what life in tourism looks like in 2023 and how innovation, funding and technology impacts their businesses, the background of their career journeys and much, much more. I've been working with tourism-based businesses for many years and I have a real passion for the sector, as do my guests. This pod is a bonus episode. Since 2006, Larking Gowen had undertaken an annual survey to test the temperature of the sector and to understand from the businesses themselves their trends, fears and areas to focus on. After a break in force due to the pandemic, in April 2023, we launched the results of the latest survey at a special event at Applewood in Banham. As well as a panel of experts who shared their views on a number of areas affecting the sector such as employee engagement, sustainability, the importance of customer experience, etc., there were presentations from other experts on sector collaboration, business planning and maximising employee empowerment. After the event, we caught up with three members of the audience. Tarnia Robertson, hospitality consultant and business coach, and who had until recently been the MD of Ufford Park Hotel, Golf and Spa. Oliver Paul, co-owner of Suffolk Food Hall, a visitor destination based near Ipswich, which brings together all that is good about Suffolk. And finally, Elliott Attew, the manager of Glade Caravan and Camping Park, which is an exciting David Bellamy Conservation Gold Award-winning caravan site in Norfolk. I hope that you enjoy this format. There's clearly lots to talk about, so let's go and see what they had to say. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been an interesting, interactive day. Elliott, what was your biggest takeaway from today?
It was a single quote from your panel you did just a moment ago that was, in tourism, we are storytellers. So my background is actually, I'm a content creator. That's what I trained as at college. So storytelling connects very much back to filmmaking and photography. So the fact that we are storytellers, that one quote has made me kind of rethink my entire business and how we approach the check-in process and everything in conjunction with tourism and what we do.
Yeah, making everyone the sort of director of first impressions.
Or the star in their own movie.
Absolutely, no, good, great. And your takeaway?
For me personally, what I really enjoyed, I enjoyed all the speakers. I thought they were great and they were all bringing different angles in. But what I enjoyed was, or what I also believe in myself, is that if you engage your staff so that they enjoy what they do, and I always used to say that, is that you are going to be doing your job for a very long time. If you don't enjoy what you do, go and do something else. And particularly in tourism, there are so many avenues to the business that you can move people across to rather than having to leave the company. You can move departments, and we did that quite a lot. And particularly with COVID, you do reflect and look at your whole team in a different way because certain parts of the business just fell off a cliff, like events, whereas other parts of the business were still carrying on. And as I said, I'm a great believer that you need to enjoy what you do. And if you don't enjoy it, and particularly in the business that we're in, it's very front facing for whoever you are, because you're still going to walk past a customer in a corridor, even if you're a pot washer. You know, you still need to have a smile on your face and look like you actually want to be there. So that was what I sort of believed and picked up from it.
Thank you. Ollie, what was your takeaway from today?
I think mine is compatriothood and empathy within the industry. So hearing about the survey and looking at the results, most of the figures that are in there, you know, they all resonate to us. We have the same sort of feeling. We're dealing with the same sort of problems. And whilst we operate in our own little bubbles, we've got to remember that the tourism sector has a very strong compatriothood, and that, you know, the accommodation providers are very reliant on the attractions and vice versa. And we're all operating on a day-to-day basis, but this is a forum where we can actually come together and share those problems and pick up little ideas. So what's my takeaway? It's a whole mass of scribbles of little things that I've learned from the day that I now need to take back. Make sure that I don't just walk into the team at the food hall and splurge all these ideas in front of them. They need feeding into our business plan. But this is a classic situation where actually if you get communities together, you can help each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Sustainability was a big issue for today. Elliott, what are you doing around your park for sustainability?
Well, we're a member of the David Bellamy Pledge, which is something big in tourism, where you can basically choose multiple things really to do on the site to encourage wildlife and bees and all this, that, and the other. So we've just planted all our planters with lavender. Just lavender, no other flowers or anything, but that's great for the bees. The bees absolutely love it. We are clearing trees from around our ponds to encourage wildlife into the ponds. So it's obviously a big focus on wildlife. I mean, our whole slogan is nature on your doorstep. So we focus heavily on that. But something else I am looking into in sort of the future is solar power. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the cost of energy is sky high at the moment. So anything we can do to help with that, along with less fossil fuels and that sort of thing, is going to be good. So solar panels on the roofs of our shower blocks and reception building, we hope that we can take the whole site off grid. Would be amazing.
Wow, pretty impressive. Well done. And so Tarnia, sustainability, one of the feedbacks in the survey was that net zero was not enough and 2050 was not soon enough. What messages would you pass out to businesses who are saying, well, actually, that still seems actually quite close for my business? Yeah. What would you share with them?
One of the things I picked up was that obviously sustainability is crucial and it's not something you can ignore. But depending on the type of business you are, there are some things that you can do much more easily and affordable. When I was managing director of Ufford Park, we had obviously 90-bedroom hotel, 120 acres of golf course. So being sustainable on the golf course was a no-brainer. And the head greenkeeper we had was very, very much into nature. So we had the bug hotels, we had wild areas, we planted thousands of trees, we used non-chemical fertilizers and things like that. So it took a lot of years to get to where you needed to get to, and we won lots of awards from it. With regards to the hotel and the business side of it, because it had expanded and been developed over a number of years, there was certain fuel side of things. It was totally impractical. We had about 5 different ends of boilers, so you couldn't just have one thing that worked for everything. But we were able to do solar paneling for the swimming pool and the leisure side. And then obviously in the hotel and restaurant side, simple things like we stopped plastic bottles in the bedrooms, we used glass, we used paper straws and so things like that. But again, there's still a huge cost impact on the price of a paper straw to a plastic straw. We did move over to paper, but you have to be able to afford that as part of your whole business scheme. So I think it needs planning, and there's certain very small wins that businesses can do straight away, like single-use plastic. But there's other things which heating, lighting, LED lights. That's again another easy one to do. But perhaps heating, they're much bigger projects than solar paneling, where you've got to budget that into your business and look at it that it's a 10 or 15, 20 year payback perhaps.
Yeah. So the message there is for businesses that if they're worried that it has to be a big gesture, don't worry about making the big gesture, make a small gesture.
Just start.
And keep the small, start.
Just start doing something.
Have them start and flowing, and at least you're then moving in the right direction. It doesn't matter about speed.
Yeah.
Moving in the right direction is important.
Yes.
Ollie, for you, how does sustainability work for your business?
So sustainability is obviously fundamental to the Food Hall as a local food provider. The local food movement and the slow food movement, it is a key part of what our story is. I'm a little bit concerned that at the moment and the immediate pressures that businesses have got, that actually the green back is taking precedence over the green belief. And by that, I mean people are actually looking for ways that they can save money, and they will make those decisions perhaps over and above what they could do from a sustainable longer term point of view. But there are definitely ways that it's a win-win situation. And so at the Food Hall, we actually have a green team. They're tasked with coming up with improved ways of operating. And in nearly every instances, there might be a capital outlay, but there's actually a cost saving that comes with them. And also within the business, we've made a commitment that a portion of profits always gets allocated into the green pot. And that is there so that they've got capital money that they can make investment projects on. So, I know we've been early in the programming, coming up with ideas of getting away from plastic and improving how our customers shop with us. And this year, by example, we've put in a 150 kilowatt array. So we are desperate to try and generate as much power as we can, but at the moment that's only accommodating or only providing 11% of our power needs. So different from heating, it's cooling is our problem with food. But so there's lots to come, and I do. If we can get into a slightly more stable economic situation, I think that the green agenda will come back, and it will start pushing the green back away from the decision-making process, and the green belief will become.
Excellent, thank you. We heard today about sustainability and brand, customers buying as a result of sustainability and sustainability messaging. Elliott, how's that affecting your business, and are you pushing that in front of your customers?
Well, as I mentioned previously, our whole slogan has been and will continue to be nature on your doorstep. Our guests are coming predominantly from cities, not all of them, some from the country, but predominantly they come from cities where they don't have the green spaces around them, they don't have the trees and the nature, and they don't hear the birds in the morning. So our whole message is that they can come to us, they can bring their own accommodation or come and stay in ours and wake up to the birds in the morning. They can see the deer running through the woodland and just be in amongst it, be right there in nature, and experience what Norfolk and England has to offer alongside the rest of the world.
Tarnia, branding and sustainability, do they run in parallel?
Yes, I think provided that you do what you say you're going to do, because I think nowadays with social media and just smartphones, you can't get away with anything anymore. There's no point saying that you don't do something or that you do something, and somebody can clearly take a picture of it right now to show that actually, I know you say you're doing that, but you're not. It is absolutely crucial that the two align, and it is important, well, to everybody, but there are certain younger generations coming through who are much more, their decision making is based on how sustainable you are, and how close the food that we're eating, how many miles has that travelled. Veganism, was something that you scoffed at even a year or two ago. Now it's acceptable, and most menus have at least 2 vegan options, whereas before it was, oh well, I could probably just do some vegetables if that's all right. So I think things are changing, but they need to be in line.
And avoiding greenwashing was, I think, the message you've got there. I mean, that must be very important, Ollie. I mean, how does sustainability and brand work for you?
Yeah, you've got to be completely genuine, as you say. It's got to be very honest. But therein lies a golden opportunity, particularly with tourist businesses that are independents and that we're trying to stand out against the mainstream and the multiples and so on. And we can do it because we can tell a genuine story, and that story can get interwoven with our brand, our product, what we're known for. I'm not sure we can necessarily charge a premium for it, but if we're good with our quality and our service, well, that's justified reason to charge a premium. There's the sustainability element, though, and all the sort of wider ESG obligations, they are going to become an accepted requirement by the customer. And therefore, if we do that, we can stand out from the mainstream, and we can have a point of difference by telling that ESG story.
Excellent. So, Elliott, how was the business for you last year? How did you see trends happening during the year? Were you busy? Was it last minute bookings? How did last year work for you, and how do you think this year is going to be by comparison?
Last year was, it was a bit of an anomaly. I think a lot of people are saying unprecedented, and I believe this year we're coming into yet another unprecedented year. Last year, everything was flourishing. Everything was fantastic. We got lots and lots of bookings, generally around the 3-4 nights sort of realm. And people were keen to stay in the UK. I mean, they'd just been let out from COVID. There was a little bit of, should we go abroad? Because they were just letting them go abroad again. And some people, I think, were a bit more confident to stay in the UK. Versus this year, I mean, we're very early days of this year, obviously, but this year we're seeing a lot more last-second bookings. So, I mean, for example, I had a weekend a couple of weeks ago where I had more on-spec arrivals than I did actual pre-bookings. Unheard of, never seen it before. And I think this is the way it's going to look for this year, because people can go abroad again. Cost of living, they're just waiting to see whether they've got the budget to go abroad, or whether their budget dictates they stay at home, or whether they've got the budget to go on holiday at all.
Yeah. So it wasn't just late bookings, it was no bookings. It was knocking on the door and have you room at the inn?
Exactly. On spec, the day of arrival.
How do you think trends are going to go, Tarnia, going forward? Do you think it's going to be a challenging year for businesses?
I think every year appears to be a challenge for businesses, but I think what has been established, particularly in the accommodation side of businesses, is that people have enjoyed actually spending time in England and staying, because obviously a couple of years ago they couldn't go anywhere else. They also moved into more self-catering because that was the first thing that reopened. And I think people are now thinking they still may go abroad, but I don't think they're doing it instead of England. They're doing it as well as. And I still think last minute bookings, which was a really big thing a couple of years ago, I think that's here to stay now. People aren't planning quite so far in advance. They might do for the very peak school holidays, but other than that, they are booking sort of fairly last minute still. So it's quite hard to judge how busy you're going to be. Yeah. Other than the fact that if you go on the faith of last year, I think we need to, not panic too much, because it is often, a 2 to 4 week lead in, which is very short when you're so used to things being 4 or 5 months.
Yes, but that uncertainty, the not knowing, the no
it's
bookings,
holding your nerve.
The blank canvas on the wall of no bookings is a worry.
Yeah.
Ollie, for you, how was last year? Were there any trends that you started to see, and any positives for this year you can share?
I think, we all recognise that actually that adversity we had through COVID taught us to be dynamic and got us to solve problems. We were presented with all sorts of problems, and we've become pretty resilient at rolling with the punches. And there are other punches that are going to happen this year. But actually that dynamism, we need to remember, and we need to be able to respond to that, because we've definitely got this trend of shorter decision-making process, more inspiration-led, more varied over the week, actually, and varied. Probably our seasons are getting lengthened as well, because people are making those last-minute decisions. And, we're an industry that now, through adversity, have learned how to respond to those situations. So there's great optimism for this year and years to come.
So be willing to change is your
Absolutely.
answer. Thank you very much. Okay, Ollie, Tarnia, Elliott, thank you ever so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's Tourism Business Chat. For more from the Insight series, including webinars and our latest blog posts on all things business, you can find us at larking-gowen.co.uk.